So we have a lot of people who are still joining us tonight. For those of you who are on, welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining our webinar on income and taxes. And very soon I will introduce Will Chappell, who is an excellent educator. We'll let people get kind of settled in and we'll kind of start going full steam ahead. So, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you guys for spending your hour with us tonight around supper time. I know we have downstairs something delicious smelling that I can't wait to get to, but I would much rather be with you guys tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Amanda Stiegelbauer, and I work with the council part-time. And I'm also a full-time teacher out at Blythewood High School here in the Columbia area in South Carolina. I really love to get together with teachers and do professional development and help lead or facilitate these webinars. But fortunately for you guys, you have a special treat on hand tonight. So you don't have to hear from me for the whole night. You actually get to hear from another wonderful master teacher in our South Carolina Financial Literacy Master Teacher Program. And his name is Will Chappell. He teaches down in Horry County. And I can't say enough wonderful things about him, and I'm so excited to learn from him tonight as well. Will teaches at the early college, high school in Horry County, and also the virtual school. And I will certainly let him kind of dive into some of the unique and special responsibilities he has this year. But I'm sure that we can kind of all empathize in the area of COVID, in the era of COVID, how this is just truly a different time, and we're kind of all navigating this together with lots of grace. So just a couple of reminders. Please make sure, and you guys entered with your mute button on. You are welcome to ask questions or type those in the chat box. I'll be monitoring that for Will during the course of the presentation. And also, please hang on until the very end. I know a lot of you are on because you are looking for that $100 incentive. Hopefully, you guys are on the path to attending 5 of our webinars in the series this fall. They have all been wonderful, so we are certainly appreciative of that. Please hold on and until the end so that you can complete the evaluation and give us your feedback, your honest opinions, and how we can, what we do well and how we can improve in the future. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Will and get us started tonight.
Great. Thank you so much, Amanda. And I'd like to give a special thanks as well to Chandler Jordan with SC Economics and all of the wonderful people there for providing this awesome opportunity. And I also want to thank all of you for taking time out of your Tuesday night. I know there are a lot of things you could be doing, but you chose to register and learn about income and taxes. And I'll be honest, I was really excited when Amanda presented this opportunity to me. I said, you know what, income, that's fantastic. Everybody gets really excited about money. And then I thought about it. It also means taxes, which, you know, can be kind of a negative thing, but if we're talking about income, we need to talk about taxes too. And it's that much more important for our kids to learn about it. So I'm excited to be here tonight. I'm excited to share with you some wonderful strategies, hopefully that'll be engaging, not only for our hour together this evening, but also for our kids. And I mean, that's the name of the game. That's why you're here, is to pick up on some new stuff that you can use in your classroom. All right, so if you would, in the chat box, I want you to go ahead and type in your first job and how much you were paid per hour. So in that chat box, go ahead and type in that first job and how much you were paid per hour. All right, so if you take a look, keep those coming if you haven't responded yet, but if you take a look at those, it's pretty telling, right? Just how much pay has changed and how much income has changed over the years. You know, when I think back to this, when I reflect on this, you know, my first job was at Publix. I used to bag groceries after football practice. And I think I made $6 an hour. And now if I were to tell my kids that, right, they would laugh at me. $6 an hour is nothing. But at least it's some meaningful conversations with our kids. It helps build relationships with our kids. And, you know, that's what it's really all about, is being able to develop those relationships and having some talking points. You know, what's changed? What's happened? How's minimum wage changed over the years? You know, what's the purpose of minimum wage? That type of stuff. You could even tie in, you know, ethical responsibilities of companies to providing a living wage. So there are so many different directions you could go with that. So thank you for sharing. Now in the chat box, you're also going to find a link to a form, and we're going to use this form a few times during our time together tonight. So if you would, again in the chat box, you can click on the link for Google Docs, and it's going to take you to a form. I want you to go ahead and open that form, and you just need to complete section 1. We'll get to 2 and 3 here in a few minutes. But I'll give you just a minute. Again, fill out that section 1 for our form. For those just joining us right now, we're filling out a form. You can find the link there under the chat. Right. If you're not quite finished, that's fine. You'll have an opportunity to complete filling out section 1 as we move through. But this is a great opportunity for me to kind of know who we're talking with, who we're speaking with tonight, who we're learning from tonight, and who we're collaborating with. Some of the questions are just informative, just because I like to know who I'm talking with in terms of school and school district. And then some I'm just curious about, and I'll kind of explain that in a second. All right, so as Amanda mentioned at the very beginning with our introduction, my name is Will Chappell. I am an American Government and Economics teacher with Horry County Schools. I'm entering my 11th year, which is very exciting. I teach at both the HCS Early College High School as well as HCS Virtual Schools. Now, a lot of times when we see early college, we think that, all right, cool, you're teaching gifted and talented. It's actually far from the case. Our early college program is intended for all first-generation college students, and that's going to play a very important role when we talk about personal finance. We are located in Conway, South Carolina, and the school's been around about 15 or so years. This year, I've had the opportunity to also teach with HCS Virtual Schools, which has been an exciting opportunity. So one of the questions there in the survey asked you about what was the instructional method chosen by your school district. And some of you are full distance, which is awesome. Some of us are hybrid, and some of us are hybrid and virtual school, which presents a lot of different challenges. So we'll address some of those things as we go through our presentation tonight as well, with some of the unique opportunities that each one of those delivery methods provides. Prior to getting into teaching, I did work in banking and insurance. So it also kind of gives me a unique perspective in terms of the education piece with these topics. All right, so objectives. What are we hoping to gain by the end of our hour tonight? We want to become more aware of the resources that are available to you. Following this presentation, Amanda or Chandler will send out an email with some follow-up information. Included in that will be my presentation and my slide deck. In this slide deck, I've linked a lot of things. So if you're like, you talk way too fast, I get that a lot. Feel free to go back through the presentation. Everything's linked, everything should work. You know, fingers crossed there. I do use Google a lot, so hopefully everything has sharing permissions. If not, please reach out to me. Happy to change those permissions so everybody has access to these resources and everybody can benefit from it. So we want to become aware of the resources available. We want to collaborate a little bit with peers. I'm sure you've had a very long day. I know I have. And so it would be really good to be able to talk. You don't just want to sit there for the whole hour. That's not too exciting, but we do want to share some stuff. And what better to talk about than money? So you'll get a chance to collaborate a little bit with some peers and also be able to develop an effective lesson or mini lesson related to income or taxes in both virtual and face-to-face settings. In terms of our agenda, we'll talk just for a second about the standards connection. We'll do a roundtable discussion where you meet and greet some other participants. We'll talk a little bit about project-based learning versus standalone assignments. We'll talk about some income activities and actually participate with some income activities. Talk a little bit about taxes, and then we'll be finished. The hour should go pretty quick. All right, so in terms of standards, we're looking at EPF Standard 2. And I imagine much like I was, you were very pleased when you saw the new standards for 2020. In terms of economic and personal finance, they're very exciting standards, much more relevant, and a huge emphasis was put on personal finance, which is great for us. And the indicator in particular that we're taking a look at will be EPF 0.2.ER. And it's all about research and analysis, and you'll see that connection through some of our activities today. All right, so you are going to be put into some breakout rooms for some networking opportunities and introductions. All right, while we go through this breakout room, I ask you to open up that form. Most of us completed it. Some of us may almost be finished, but go ahead and finish section 1. And there's going to be a quick question there for section 2. So go ahead and fill that out. You'll be put into the breakout rooms. Amanda, let's give them, I don't know, let's say 8 minutes. So 8 minutes in the breakout room. Share your name, school, city, number of years teaching, you know, the usual stuff that we talk about at professional development. And then in your group, talk about some factors that affect an individual's income.
Great, so I'm going to open the breakout rooms. And one of the things that I want you guys to remember is that you have to click on the Google Doc for the link to Will's form before you go into your breakout room, because you won't have access to the chat box in your breakout rooms. So go ahead and click on the form before you exit this room, and then we'll bring you back in 8 minutes. Anything else, Will?
That's it. Thank you, Amanda.
Sure. Okay, your rooms are open.
Hello, how's everyone? Hi, can you all hear me?
I can hear you.
Is that Amanda?
Yeah, it's Amanda.
Okay, huh. All right, I see that it looks like there are 4 other people in, but I'm
So
not
this,
sure.
yeah, this is the main room. Did you,
Okay,
let's see.
all right. So, yeah, I know, like it didn't move. Like normally it tells you like you're going to a breakout room. That didn't happen, but I saw the number of participants go down, so I didn't know.
Oh, that's so weird.
Mhm.
All right, let me try. Let me just try one more time.
Okay.
Hmm. Okay, Robin, I sent you an invitation.
Okay, where should that pop up, Amanda?
It should pop up like on your Zoom screen.
Okay, let me make sure I'm in the right.
I know I have 2 tabs for Zoom. I don't know if that's making a difference or not.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I bet you. See, when I went to the form, it did do something weird to like the meeting screen. Um, hmm.
Strange. Well, you know what, Robin? We have about 1 more minute.
Okay.
So just hang out if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
All right,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we're all slowly getting back in. It looks like everybody is almost back. All right, you're good to go, Will.
Great, thank you. All right, so hopefully you had a good time there in the breakout rooms, meeting some new people. I know in our breakout room, we have people from all over the state teaching at all different levels, which is awesome because economics and personal finance starts at a very young age. And these are things that our kids need to know. And so it's fantastic to meet so many of you. Again, hopefully you had good discussions in those breakout rooms. All right, so the question that was posed to you was this idea of factors that affect an individual's income. And so that's kind of the direction we're going to go. All right, so some of the factors that increase income are listed. So you can see them there on my screen on the presentation. You'll see that some things are hyperlinked. I mentioned that earlier in the presentation that you will find hyperlinks in the presentation. So when you get that, if you missed something, by all means, check that out. And so I'm sure a lot of these came up in your breakout rooms. Experience, you know, depending on how long you work, how long you've been in the labor market, all of these things affect how much money you earn. And it also depends on the types of jobs that we hold. You know, I know an important discussion in my classroom, because a lot of my kids work, I'm working primarily with 15 and 16-year-olds, who do you work for? You know, what are the job descriptions for the jobs that you do? And how can we make that marketable for you going forward? You know, at our school, it's a big push for college all the time. And we talk about college in terms of 4-year and 2-year. And we don't want to get into all the details of that because we'll touch on education in a second. But we want to figure out the experience that we have and how we can make that marketable. And we all know that based on experience, I mean, this determines even how we're paid, right? And I know a big discussion oftentimes between me and some of my colleagues is the idea of the teaching world versus the rest of the world. And for us, you know, it makes sense. We live in a world where we typically work off of salary schedules and all right, I have this many steps. But in the rest of the world, that's not how it works. And so this leads to important discussions with the kids on just how important experience is moving forward on how much income you can earn. Second up there is education. So education probably came up in most of your groups. Did want to take a second and take you to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is one of my favorite resources. They have a ton of resources. If you get a chance, check them out. But on this resource, you will find just how much education can lead to higher wages. And through the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you'll see that this is, let me make sure this is the most recent one they have, is 2019. So hopefully we're finding the most current, the most recent information that we can provide for our students. So this is 2019 and it has it broken down per week for earnings in terms of education. And one of the really cool things about the Bureau of Labor Statistics is that when you go in, you can actually search for different years and you can take a look at how things have changed over time. You know, and this is a really important social studies thing. It's a really important life thing is, are we picking up on the differences and the trends and how things are changing over time? So for instance, if we looked at the 2018 graph, we would find that doctoral degrees were actually lower than professional degrees. And we could have some discussions about that. For those of you who teach high school, I'm sure you have just as many aspiring doctors as I do. But maybe we can have some different discussions based on this educational requirement and how things are starting to change, you know, and maybe how we may want to pursue a PhD instead. But there can be fantastic discussions taking place around income and education. So hopefully you and your group members talked about the importance there of education. If we continue to go down our list, you have performance reviews. And I know this came up in my group. You know, how well are you doing at your job? That determines potential raises. And that's an important thing for kids to know and for students to know. And one of the other interesting aspects that kind of came up during our small group was this idea that our kids need to be advocates for themselves. They need to be able to learn how to ask for raises at these reviews. You know, is my work worth getting another quarter per hour or a dime per hour, whatever the case may be, but have students be an advocate for themselves. Performance reviews matter. and it has a huge impact on our overall income and earning potential. All right, our next up, boss and or who you know. Again, this doesn't necessarily play too much into our teaching world, but it does play an important part in the real world outside of teaching. You know, who do you know? That can have an impact. If we keep going, number of reports, you know, managers make more. It just depends on how many people you manage in terms of how much potential earning power, again, you could have. Professional associations and certifications. We talk and know a lot about that, right? Because we're teachers. Again, we're thinking, all right, where do I fall on the pay scale? But that applies in other professions as well. And one of the last pieces that came up actually combines kind of these last 2 points on factors that impact employment and income, hazardous working conditions. And, you know, this comes up a lot, right, in COVID-19 situations as we talk about the pandemic and the impact on the economy and the impact on individuals and families and communities of being essential workers. And, you know, are you being compensated for that? Or could you be compensated more for that? And then lastly, shift differentials. And I know from personal experience with my classes, shift differentials are huge. Most of my kids already know that through either personal experience for them personally as individuals or from their family. You know, there's a reason that their parents were working a certain shift or multiple shifts. And oftentimes it's a way to earn additional income, which is so very important to the family dynamic. All right, so those are some of the factors that increase or have an influence on income. You can have access to the list. I think this was pulled from salary.com, so you can check that out later if you'd like. All right, so something that's going to come up throughout the rest of our time together is the idea of individual standalone assignments versus project-based learning. I'm very much a project-based learning teacher. I have been ever since I entered the profession, and it kind of ties back to my experience outside of teaching. So I do a lot of PBL, a lot of project-based learning. And given your instructional plan for your district is largely going to determine how you may want to approach some of the assignments. You know, if you are approaching it from you're there face-to-face every day, and I don't know how many of us are in that situation, you know, project-based learning is a lot easier because everybody's there every single day. We can talk about it, we can discuss stuff, we can differentiate, it's right there. And that can be fantastic for us. It can be an ongoing thing. You know, if we're in hybrid, it gets to be a little bit harder on project-based learning where you may want to have more of a focus on standalone assignments just for the simplicity of it. All right, here's the assignment. Here's what we need to do. Let's get this done. And then we can move on to the next thing and they don't have to be tied together. And you can also imagine too how this plays out in full distance learning because it's, excuse me, very similar to the hybrid approach where maybe we want to focus on the standalone assignments. All right, so in terms of income, some of the things that we could look at and that are a part of my project-based system, and you'll take some of these, you might not like some of these, because a lot of this is very timely and can use up a lot of your resources in terms of time. But these are going to be some interesting things that I like to focus on when thinking about income. Number one, career aptitude. You probably have access to aptitude and skill interest assessments through your school district. You know, you may want to talk to your guidance department about that. For us at our school, I know we use Kuder, that's K-U-D-E-R, and SCOIS. So kids may take these aptitude skills-based assessments. You know, what do you like to do? How do you like to spend your time? Do you like fishing? All of those types of questions to kind of build up this cluster approach, right? And you'll see that play out here in one of our activities. But we can have some interesting discussions based on those career clusters. And it ties in well with IGPs for the individual graduation plans as well. And so you can have a close communication there with guidance to figure out how to best address that. But those careers, those potential earnings are tied so closely to the career chosen. Researching careers. So you know that based on the indicator that research is an important part. Based on the clusters, you could then take a look at potential careers within the clusters. You'll see how that plays out with our activity here in a minute. We could research the educational licensing requirements. Also, you can do that through the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We'll see it in a second. You could take a look at cost of living. That's a really important part. For a lot of my students, they're moving from all over the place. You know, Horry County, when we talk about Horry County, we're talking primarily Myrtle Beach. And so we have students from all over the place coming in. And well, some of them plan on staying, some of them plan on going. But it's important for us to talk about that cost of living and how that will change, how much stuff costs. It's important. And then lastly, taking a look at specific jobs and specific careers. You can do that through the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Lots of ways to take a look at that. So let's get to it and take a look at our first activity. All right, so kind of the way the activities are set up this evening. At this point, you have section 1 and section 2 complete on your form. So we'll be moving into section 3. And with section 3, you'll find the same instructions. So you'll still have that available to you. So if you're like, oh, I missed a step, don't worry about it. It's in the form. It'll walk you through it, screenshots all the way through. So here's what we're going to be taking a look at. So imagine for a minute that you have taken a career aptitude, a skills aptitude test, some type of assessment through SCOAS or CUDA, whatever is available to you, and you get the following results. So you can see how we did, and you can see that our top 3 are health science, arts, audio, visual technology, and communications. And then lastly, STEM. And you can see that for our scores, we had 9, 7, and 7. So these are definitely our top 3. We'll find that sometimes students want to fight us a little bit, right? Because they all still wanted to be doctors. But based on this, we can have some interesting conversations. For this person, health science is in that field. So doctor, a fantastic choice. But we can have some discussions based on that. And then from there, once we have our career clusters kind of determined based on that skills aptitude, we can go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So in the form, you'll find that there's a 1-minute video as part of it, and they'll kind of explain how the BLS works, which is fantastic for us. Again, it's an awesome resource if we're talking about income and talking about jobs and research and analysis and all of that. Again, lots and lots of data on BLS. So you will see a screen that looks like this. You can see that, based on what you see there in front of you, basically they're sort of broken down into the clusters already, which is fantastic. So you're going from that assessment to being able to match it up through the BLS. And then lastly, once you get into the Bureau of Labor Statistics data, it's actually going to be broken down based on wage and occupation. And you'll see that when you get into the activity. So once we're able to access that, once we get into the cluster, then we're able to take a look at the jobs within the cluster. You'll see this with BLS that you can then click on jobs, and then you'll be able to read about the individual jobs, which is awesome. All right, so here's what we need to do. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put you back into breakout rooms. You need that form open, so make sure the form is open so that you can follow along. Again, the instructions are step by step. It's gonna take you from that career assessment to BLS, further into BLS, further beyond that into BLS. And so you're going to answer the questions that are tied to that. Again, all of the directions will be there for you. Amanda, if we could set the clock on that for 10 minutes in the breakout rooms. So that'll give you some time with your group, and it'll give you some time to kind of explore as an individual a little bit too, which I think is hugely important. All right, so go ahead and you can access the form, and you have your breakout room.
Okay, Will, so all of the breakout rooms will close in about 45 seconds.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hopped into one of them. Had no idea that there was like a help button. So someone said that they needed help. So I was able to hop in, take care of it. That's a really neat feature.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Looks like we have everybody back. Awesome.
All right, great. So hopefully you were able to explore BLS, again, Bureau of Labor Statistics. I find it to probably be my go-to source when talking about income with students. Again, lots of great data. If you didn't get a chance to play around with some of their stuff, take a look at it. It's worth your time. All right, so we still need to talk about taxes. Now, of course, I made the income part really long, so we can make the tax part really short. So in terms of PBL versus individual assignments, again, it depends on the delivery method time-wise that you're working through. Obviously, we do work primarily, you know, a lot of times when taxes come up, people want to talk W-2s, W-4s, 1040 EZs, that kind of stuff. You know, and you can have valuable conversations, valuable discussions about all of those wonderful things and how much you get to pay and all of that. That may be actually one of my favorite things. We actually manually calculate paychecks, which is lots and lots of fun. So the kids have those moments where they're just, that's where all my money goes. And so hugely valuable experience for them. We do have the progressive tax structure. Again, I've included lots of links for you. So when you get into the presentation, you can explore some of this on your own. Some of these have fantastic interactive tools that you can use with your kids. So again, check those out. But again, a lot of good stuff there. We've also included some other tax specific resources. The IRS stuff's kind of interesting if you get a chance to check them out as they try to change people's opinions about the IRS with some of their resources. The activity that we would do is actually one that I was just going to walk you through because it's actually through TurboTax. Now, most of us use online tax paying. Either you go to an accountant and they use an online system or you use TurboTax individually. So there is some value in doing the 1040 EZ yourself. But let's be real, most of us are doing it online. Most of the kids are doing it online. So I'm going to walk you through briefly the TurboTax simulation. There's a video linked in here as well that'll provide a much more detailed approach on how you get logged in and all of that. So you have that resource available to you, but this is through Intuit. So basically Intuit's created education accounts that you can use with your kids. So you'll set up an email address, put it at intuiteducation.com, and you'll set all of that up. They also provide you with resources in terms of our W-2s. So they don't want any personal identifying information, which of course we can respect and understand that. So they provide sample W-2s that you can actually use as you work through their software with TurboTax, which is really cool. So as you get in there, you'll enter all the information just like you're one of us, which is really cool, valuable experience for the kids, and it will calculate refunds, and kids can see how clicking on certain things or putting in certain numbers changes the amount. And so lots of valuable discussions with that. So again, the W-2s are provided. You're using those education accounts through Intuit and TurboTax to run through some simulations. I believe they have 5 different profiles basically you can kind of look at based on people's different situations, which is cool and again leads to great conversations with the kids. And in this case, awesome, we got a refund, so that's good news. So that is a great resource available to you. Again, if I breezed right through that, you're right, I did breeze right through it. But you have the video. Intuit's done some great stuff in terms of recording the tutorials. They'll walk you right through every single step. Very active in terms of responding to questions too. So if you have questions, if things don't work, they respond really fast. They're excited about this education initiative. But again, I recommend the TurboTax simulation. I haven't done it yet with my students. I just learned about it last week, actually. And so I'm excited to try it out with my kids. I think it'll work out well. The last piece I wanted to add for us this evening is the idea again of the traditional versus the virtual and hybrid. For a lot of us, we're doing both. We're either doing hybrid with virtual, virtual with hybrid, or we're just virtual. Most of us don't have the traditional stuff yet, but just based on numbers. So you know a lot of this, you know all of this. It's going to be all about scaffolding. It's about providing tutorial videos, walking kids through all of these various different sites and being able to do that. So again, it's just a lot of work. You already know that. I don't need to tell you that. It's a lot of work, but it's necessary work so that our kids can be successful with it. And hopefully before too long, if we can get numbers where they need to be, we can get back to a more traditional set. All right, so takeaways: income's awesome, taxes aren't. Hopefully you're able to pick up on some good strategies that you can use in your classroom for both. Next Tuesday, the focus will be on budgeting, a plan and purpose for income, which is awesome because now that we've earned money and we've given a lot of it back to the government, now we need to figure out how to use the rest of it, which is budgeting. So hopefully you've registered for that next session. At this point, I'll turn it over to Amanda. Again, thank you for the opportunity to talk about income and taxes with you today. And thank you, SC Economics, for this opportunity.
Wow, Will, thank you so much. I've learned so many things from you, personally teaching personal finance right now. So I can't wait to use some of the tools that you have shared with us tonight. It's always wonderful to hear from other wonderful teachers and just collaborate with you because you get brand new ideas, some things that are fresh, some things you never knew about. So I can certainly say that about the presentation tonight. So thank you so much for the time that you put into this and preparation and for sharing with so many of our teachers tonight. I want to just tell you guys, remind you that I've dropped in the chat box the evaluation for tonight. We really love to hear from our teachers on what we are doing well, what we need to improve on, and then even maybe more importantly for you guys, I know that a lot of you are trying to attend the 5 professional developments during the course of the fall semester to get that $100 incentive to spend all on Amazon Prime Day, right? We have a lot of thank yous coming in. We certainly appreciate you guys as teachers and everything that you do. I know that I'm in the thick of it with you guys, and we are kind of trying to figure out what hybrid looks like by November 4th in Richland 2. And so many of us just can't wrap our heads around it. But the wonderful thing is that we have each other, and it's wonderful to be able to share with phenomenal educators like yourselves. I will drop again in our chat box the evaluation for tonight. Please make sure that you fill that out so that we have your feedback, but even more importantly, to know where to send your check if you qualify. And certainly, please feel free to join us for future webinars. The webinar on Tuesday will be hosted by another South Carolina Financial Literacy Master teacher, Ashley Bowers. She was actually our South Carolina Economics Teacher of the Year this year, and she teaches English. So we have a wide variety of teachers who are instructing our students on personal financial literacy, and we just love it. Are there any questions that you guys have for Will or for me? I'll continue to monitor the chat box. One little last thing for me. Will was presenting on behalf of both SC Economics and the South Carolina Financial Literacy Master Teacher Program, which is funded and supported by the South Carolina Treasurer's Office and the Future Scholar 529 plan. We are always looking for other teachers who love to share their best practices in personal finance and economics. Just like Will just did, I know know that sometimes it's a learning curve, but once you kind of get on the ship, it's pretty easy peasy. And it's really, truly enjoyable. So we are accepting a few nominations for teachers in the bronze level this year. So if you are remotely interested, please reach out to me or Chandler. And you're also welcome to visit the website scfmlt.org to get some more information. But please email if you have any questions whatsoever about it. And you have lots of thank yous, Will. You did a fantastic job. We'll post in the chat box one last time the link to the evaluation, just in case you guys didn't get it. And you are welcome to enjoy the rest of your night, eat dinner, enjoy a show, enjoy your families. Thank you. It's good to see all of y'all. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but you have a lot of your fellow colleagues who are master teachers as well on with you tonight.
Hold up.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and shut this bad boy down. It's good seeing all of you. Will, thanks again so much. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.